to say a blessing? Thank you.
Lord Jesus, you are wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. You are King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You are Alpha and the Omega, from everlasting to everlasting. We praise your holy name. Pray for your presence, your guidance, and your direction tonight as you, the living word, guide us in the written word. Thank you, Jesus. We praise your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for the beautiful prayer. So last week we sort of zip-lined through Daniel chapter 8 with its prophecy of the blasphemous, terrifying little horn that's going to come out of the four horns of the Macedonian Empire, Antiochus Epiphanes, who caused a lot of trouble in Jerusalem and is the subject of the two famous apocryphal books, the Maccabees, which you all should read. They're really quite amazing. And that would be a good subject for a Bible study, just for the sake of history, even though they're apocryphal, not actually part of the inspired word as the old rabbis decided it should be. However, they're still true books and very important books. So today we go on to chapter 9, which is just another amazing chapter in this amazing book. And chapter 9 begins with a very, very beautiful prayer. For my money, it's the most beautiful prayer in the entire Bible, and it's going to be full of stuff. We can look at this and say, wow, this is in the Old Testament? And then once we get done with that beautiful prayer, we're going to walk up to the edge of a cliff, and we're all going to fall off. And my hope is that nobody gets hurt in the process. Because the chapter ends with a mind-boggling prophecy. And I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of good discussion about that. So I hope you all have your calculators with you so that you can all multiply 7 times 7. But until we get to that point, we're going to go to read, let me see, I need a volunteer to read the first 19 verses of chapter 9 of Daniel.
Sure. Chapter 9. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of the seed of the Medes, which was made king over the realm of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem. And I set my face unto the Lord God to seek by prayer and supplication, with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto the Lord my God, and made my confession, and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned, we have committed iniquity, we have done wickedly, and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants the prophets, which spake thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass, that they have trespassed against thee. O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of face, and to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To our Lord, our God, belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God, to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. Therefore hath the Lord watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For the Lord our God is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we obeyed not his voice. And now, O Lord our God, that hast brought thy people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and have gotten thee renown, as at this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city Jerusalem, thy holy mountain, because for our sins and for the iniquity of our fathers, Jerusalem and thy people are become a reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, our God, hear the prayer of thy servant and his supplications, and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary that is desolate, for the Lord's sake. O my God, incline thy ear, and hear, open thine eyes, and behold our desolations, and the city which is called by thy name. For we do not present our supplications before thee for our righteousnesses, but for thy great mercies. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not, for thine own sake. O my God, for thy city and thy people are called by thy name.
Yeah, what do you think of that prayer?
Sounds like bits and pieces of the Lord's Prayer.
Yes, it does. It sounds like something else that we say quite often on Sundays. In fact, every Sunday. Actually, some of the language here is right in the Book of Common Prayer at the end, where it says, not on the ground of our righteousness, but on the ground of your great mercies. I think the Cranmer version is something like, not in our own righteousness, but in my manifold and great. Something like that. Graciousness, I don't remember what the exact words are, but yes, some of this language is actually in the prayer book from this prayer. Anything else?
Sounds like he's speaking from Jerusalem.
From Jerusalem.
Yes, what?
He really appeals to God and say, your name is at stake, and God's name is great and holy and all. It's your word, and his name is above all things. So he really could move the hand of God by just appealing to his name.
When you think about the prophet's mindset in this prayer.
That's definitely repentance.
Looking for forgiveness.
They seek forgiveness.
Does he blame anybody else?
He's just praying his own people. That's right.
And himself.
I think you remember the covenant they made with Moses in Deuteronomy, when the blessings and the curses was so they realized they transgressed the covenant. That's why they are in that situation. So Daniel remind us in verse 11 as well.
Yeah.
Transgressed the law.
Yeah, so you want to take just a quick glance at what Joe's talking about there, what the prayer's talking about? It's the end of Deuteronomy. I think it's like 30 or something like that.
It's 28. You can be in the chapter 1.
Well, I'm actually thinking of the,
This is about, if you transgress whatever they get, it was exactly what happened. But you can,
yeah, we could use that. I was actually thinking of the song that Moses sings. All right, let's look at what Joe's talking about. So that's chapter 28, verse 20.
mm,
let's just read some of this. The Lord will send upon you curses, confusion, and frustration in all that you undertake. Okay, so what's happened here is he's promised them, if you follow, you're in the promised land now. God's delivered it to you. If you follow the Lord, if you stay faithful to him, you'll continue to prosper. You will be blessed. Long life to you, Micaiah, right? But if you don't, if you will not obey the voice of the Lord in verse 15, or be careful to do his commandments, which I command you, then all these curses shall come upon you. Cursed shall you be in the city. Cursed shall you be in the field. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading trough. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body, in other words, your children, and the fruit of your ground, and the increase of your cattle, and the young of your flock. Cursed shall you be when you come in. Cursed shall you be when you go out. So, I was going to read an even harsher thing that happens over here in chapter 31, where Moses breaks into a pretty scarifying song, but that gives you an idea of what's going on, of the background of this incredible prayer that Daniel speaks. Does this prayer speak to you as you read it? You hear yourself perhaps in this prayer?
Very much this week.
I think that one thing that's astonishing is that this is, this really is Christian theology almost. It's just inches away. This is no longer the rabbinical idea of we're going to be under the law and we're going to justify ourselves with law. This is something very different. This is, we cannot obey the law. We haven't done it so far. We're not likely to do it in the future, but we're depending on you to justify us.
He also uses, like, throughout this whole chapter 9, it's like we. It's not like he is saying. He's speaking almost because maybe like the whole Jewish people is going through some hard time, but it's not like I said. It seems like he's speaking more for the broader situation, broader people, and not just all on himself. Not that he's perfect, but.
And why might that be important? What is the Old Testament really? It's the story of the Jewish people. Is it a happy ending or a sad one?
And that could be just a pretty tough.
It's got a pretty sad ending. She lost her kingdom. The prophets were shut up for 400 years. Were the people of Israel obedient to the God who called them out of nothingness and gave them a great nation? Gave them the word? No, did not. So, the Old Testament is a lesson for us. And the lesson is this: we cannot be righteous of our own strength. That's what the Old Testament teaches us. So when Daniel speaks here on behalf of all the people, he's giving us this lesson. He's imparting it to us. This is not, we cannot go the Moses way. We cannot obey the law. Something else has to happen.
Daniel's a prophet, but he is included in this also.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of times the prophets prophesy. They're prophesying to a group of people, a city, a nation. But he's prophesying himself included in what he's prophesying about.
That's why it's so beautiful. Don't you feel it's a very beautiful, tender-hearted, it's not the kind of, standing on the mountaintop pointing at the sinful people and saying, you sinners, you're going to get struck by it. This is just pouring out his heart.
I think it's under conviction because I believe God more than His Holy Spirit, and that's why we have that gift of prophecy. So he knew right away him and his nation they go astray, and the reason is in Babylon the other one. So he reminded in the beginning of the book of the Jeremiah prophesies, he was about 70 years. So now he thinking this is the end of our punishment. So now what are you gonna do? So we're gonna return back. So I think that's his expectation about in this prayer to they go back to the land of Israel.
Right, so let's talk about that a little bit. You notice in the first verse, this is the first year of Darius. you remember chapter 7? It was the first year of Belshazzar.
Mm.
Chapter 8 was the third year of Belshazzar. This is the year after the third year of Belshazzar, when the Babylonian Empire has already fallen to the empire of the Persians and the Medes. This Darius dude is actually called by the non-biblical historians Cyaxares. Cyaxares. And he was the first in that joint empire of the Persians and the Medes. It was Cyrus and Cyaxares, or as he's called here, Darius. He was the king of the Medes, and he's the one who's mentioned here at the beginning of this chapter. But very soon the Persians overwhelmed the Medes, and it was just the Persian empire. He's a Mede who became king over the realm of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, perceived in the books. What would the books be? Didn't hesitate. He tells you in just a couple of words here. In Jeremiah, yeah, the books, right, the books of the prophets. So he's been reading the books of the prophets on that. Remember, he's been in captivity here for 70 years. He's getting kind of old. You know, he's creaky. Maybe he's sitting in his room, doesn't want to talk to people, so he's reading the books of the prophets, right? But actually, he's worn out because it's been a long time. 70 years is a long time to be in captivity.
So this is, was Jeremiah prophecy 29:10. He said, "For thus says the Lord, when 70 years are complete," there you go, there you read that, "for Babylon I will visit you, and I will fulfill to you my promise, and bring you back to this place." So Jeremiah 29:10. So the 7
Mike,
years
can you
go
read-
by.
Can you read all 4 verses?
Yeah, I-
3 verses.
So I start in the 29:10. "For thus says the Lord, when 70 years are complete for Babylon, I will visit you, and I will fulfill to you my promise, and bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will hear you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me all from your heart." That's the
That's what the prayer
the
is.
promise that God gives to them. And Daniel is searching for that, rely on God's word, God promised to visit us, so he's faithful to his word. So that's his expectation now, I think, about in this chapter.
That's correct. I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Daniel did not know how many years was prophesied. It sounds like he's reading the
Well,
books.
it's going to get even more freaky as we go along here. Yeah. So what's happened is that he looks in Jeremiah, and he's getting frustrated. And he looks, and lo and behold, it says 70 years. Well, they've been there about 70 years. So he starts to get hopeful. Then something unhappy happens. But we're not going to go there right now. We're going to look at this
It
prayer.
sounds like he's just waiting, and he's just tired,
He's
and
tired.
I'm faithful, I love you, I'm with you. What next?
What next?
What else? It just sounds like, okay, let's get this over with.
And have we ever been like that in our own lives?
Well, it sounds like you say that it's always darkest before the dawn, right?
He's looking at what's gonna get darker.
Absolutely. I mean, this is it's a great book because we can put ourselves right in his shoes,
Yeah,
and he's unpretentious, and he's very accessible, and he just unloads himself of this. I mean, to me, it's the most beautiful prayer in the whole Bible. It's just it's humble, it's sweet-spirited, it gives all the honor and praise to God, not to himself. It's a beautiful prayer. And there's really no other prayer like it that I can think of. There's the 51st Psalm, but it's just an absolutely, to me, a very touching prayer. So he says in verse 3, "Then I turn my face to the Lord God." Then I turn my face to the Lord God. What does that make you think when you see those words? Well, that's good. We got a nice bell with that one. I like that.
Perfect timing.
What do you think? Then I turn my face to the Lord God. How about in your own lives?
Um, I mean, we are ashamed people who do that. You know, it's the last leg. They finally faced it with the music, so to speak.
Based-
It's turning away from the sin and turning your face.
Totally surrender yourself to God.
Turning away from his position of power in Babylon and turning to God, finally, right? Then I turn my face to God. He turns his whole being to God, doesn't he? How do I turn my face to God? Seeking him in prayer and supplication.
You know, and he says he's not demanding that the Lord do this. He's got it in mind in 60 years it's going to be over. But he's still pleading for it to happen. Right?
And don't forget, it's one thing to sort of intellectually turn your mind to God, but it's something different to turn your face to God. Here's how he characterizes God. He's the great and terrible God, but we're told repeatedly the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But he's also keeping his covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments. What does this sound like from the book of Romans? All things work together for good to those who love God. Keeping his covenant and his steadfast love with those who love him. Now he's already going to tell us that they didn't keep his commandments, but what he means here, who at least try to keep his commandments.
Amen.
Because immediately he says, we have sinned and done wrong.
Well, we have Jesus. They didn't have Jesus at that point.
Right. I love this in verse 7. This is so great. To thee, O Lord, belongs righteousness, but to us, confusion of face.
Christ is open shame.
Yeah, the actual translation is confusion. Yeah. Who's being confused? All of our expectations about ourselves, all of our self-imaging, thoughts and expectations about what we thought we could accomplish.
Well, God knows the arrogant creatures on the planet.
Right. And again in verse 8, to us, O Lord, belongs confusion of face, to our kings, our princes, our fathers, because we have sinned against you. This is all in, this is deep immersion. This is a turning point in the Bible. No longer thinking that we're going to be able to get this done, and God's going to have to come in and do it for us. So it's a shift, and there's so many echoes in here, false theology and Jewish theology, and all of the ideas in the New Testament about who God really is and what he accomplished in Jesus.
But in a way, he's kind of setting the stage and making the case for somebody like Jesus to really come in and to do that.
Exactly. He's making the case about a different kind of Messiah.
A different kind of Messiah.
A different kind of Messiah. Listen to this, verse 9, to the Lord our God belong mercy and forgiveness.
He's pre-anticipating salvation.
Verse 11, all Israel, and this is not the northern kingdom, this is all the children of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
has transgressed thy law and turned aside, refusing to obey.
It's like the Romans, all sinners and fall short of the glory of God.
Right.
So it's like,
All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
what else do you
as it is written in the law of Moses, all this calamity has come upon us, and we just, Joe just read that for you. Very, very clear, could not be clearer. And now, O Lord our God, this is verse 13, who didst bring thy people out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and hast made thee a name, as at this day we have sinned, we have done wickedly. So this is just a universal confession of their failure. Literally, as a nation, to live up to their calling. It's kind of the wrap of the Old Testament. You know what I mean? It's the end of the story.
Right.
And now something new's going to happen, or they're stuck, because there's any other place to go. Hearken, in verse 17, hearken to the prayer of thy servant and his supplications for thy own sake. Cause thy face to shine upon the sanctuary which is desolate. Forget the temple that been destroyed. Verse 19, O Lord, hear, O Lord, forgive. O Lord, give heed and act, delay not for thine own sake. Oh my God. Because thy city and thy people are called by thy name. So let's just take a quick look at Psalm 48, verses 1 to 8. Can some kind person read that for us? Anyone? Verses 1 to 8?
I'll be a Bible hog here. Okay, great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountains of his holiness. Beautiful situation. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion. On the sides of the north, the city of the great king. God is known in her palaces for a refuge. For lo, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. They saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God. God will establish it forever. Selah.
Yep. So this refers to the fact the great king here is David. And this as a description of Jerusalem at the time of the psalmist. But what is this a prophecy of? Who's the great king?
But
Yeah. Where was he crucified?
on Mount Zion.
On Mount Zion. Yep. Absolutely. And so this kind of gives substance to what Daniel says here when he says again in verse 19, O God, because thy city and thy people are called by thy name. Jerusalem. Peace of the Lord.
Sounds like Moses when he was, God was ready to destroy them, when he came down,
Yeah.
right? He stepped still in the gap.
He's to the gap.
And it sounds like they really are stiff-necked. I mean, truly stiff-necked. This is as it has come upon us, yet we have not entreated the favor of the Lord our God, turning from our iniquities and giving the insight by your truth. And that it makes it sound like any other nation on the face of the earth would have done so at that point. They did not do it.
Yes, but I believe that this prayer speaks for all of us.
Oh,
Our wandering hearts. That great hymn, my heart prone to wander. I think this speaks for all of us. So what the prayer is really about is our inability to save ourselves. No, but it's not just to Israel, but to all nations. All right, everybody ready to step off the cliff? Yeah, so you know at Hershey Park there's this roller coaster where it's a monorail and there are like 5 cars lined up on it and they're red and people all sit in the cars and it's still and it goes whoosh And everybody starts screaming like, well, almost has a heart attack. Well, that's what this is gonna be for us as you read this. I'm counting on you all to get your calculators out, because we've got some math coming up. I promise it would be no math, but I lied. Who would like to read through the end of the chapter from verse 20?
Maybe a Bible holiday.
Be a Bible high.
Okay.
We all love old King James.
It's the King of England. And whilst I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God, for the holy mountain of my God, yea, whilst I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, "O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Now therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem into the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince shall come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with the flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
Thank you. So, before we start looking at this, I'm just going to mention that this is prophecy, and it's apocalyptic prophecy. There's, as we said last week, there are 2 apocalyptic prophecies in the Bible. There's this one in the Old Testament, and there's John in the New Testament, or Revelation. And prophecy is indeterminate. Nobody knows unless the Bible tells us what the exact interpretation is. Nobody's sure exactly what it means. You remember that in some previous chapters we were specifically told this means this means that. Here we're not told that. And I can tell you right up front, the commentators all have different ideas about what this means. So they're kind of agreed on one major point that we're going to come to in a minute, but please don't feel bashful if you have a different opinion, because you're just like that. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I have a dispensational Bible here, it's a Schofield red letter, and has all the
Glossary.
all the stuff, the
Yeah.
fundamentals.
Yeah, we're gonna need it. So here's the thing. He had this. He goes to Jeremiah, and he sees, oh, great! It's only going to be 70 years. It's almost over. And he says this incredible prayer. But while he's still speaking, an angel, Gabriel, comes rushing to his side. Okay. So here's the thing. He got the 70 years right of the captivity, but this prophecy of Jeremiah has a deeper meaning that he didn't get, and here it's brought out. Notice that the angel, while I was speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision, came to me and said, "Quiet." He came to me. What does it say? Does it say that it touched me?
Verse 21.
Insight.
Oh, it doesn't say it in this translation.
This is,
Oh, all right.
the queen was swift flying.
In swift flight, he came to me and said, "David, I have come now to give you wisdom and understanding." So there's more to the prophecy of Jeremiah than is understood on the surface. There's something deeper going on than just the restoration of Jerusalem. It's not just about the end of the Babylonian captivity. It has a deeper meaning. It's hidden. Oh, Daniel, I've now come to give you wisdom and understanding at the beginning of your supplications. Oh, I have come to tell it to you, for you are greatly beloved. Therefore, consider the word. Yeah. 70 weeks of years are decreed concerning your people and your holy city. All right. 70 weeks. Well, if it's 70 weeks, okay, but what are 70 weeks of years? Well, it turns out that in biblical parlance, this means a week of years is 7. So 70 weeks of years, and I told you there wasn't going to be a math in this Bible study, is 70 times 7, which is 490 years. At least as I recall from my multiplication tables. I hope that hasn't changed. 490 years, which brings us right to the time of Christ. 70 weeks of years, 70 times 7, 490 years. Now, 70 weeks are decreed concerning your people and your holy city, which is Jerusalem, to what? Finish a transgression. Well, what kind of a Messiah is this? Is this a warlord? Is this another warlord like David? What does that mean? Finish the transgression. Well, is it just one?
The punishment for sin and transgression gonna be put for all, be paid. See, until now, the temple now was destroyed, but it was rebuilt again in 514. So the sacrifice returned again to the routine life. So it was about 7-something years they stopped. So they start sacrifice again, the blood sacrifice, until what the Hebrew said was a foreshadow of the things to come. So always the high priest, when he goes on in the Yom Kippur day, so he take his blood and the blood of the blood of the goats and everything is spread in the mercy seat. So he atoned for himself and for the people for 1 year. So always the sin will be remembered every year after until when God say, I remember your sins no more, because the payment was made. That's why God will remember. So we want to add in Jesus. So why? Because he paid the penalty. That's exactly what
He's going to, Jesus is going to come and put an end to the sacrificial system. Yeah.
To what, sorry?
To the sacrificial system.
The blood sacrifice.
So the whole sacrificial system. He is the sacrifice. Yeah, but what I'm asking is, why the transgression? The transgression. Which transgression does he have in mind here? Yeah, 24. Which transgression is he thinking of?
Thinking about Adam and Eve.
The very first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is talking about, as Father Joe puts it, he's going to reverse the curse. That's what Jesus is going to do. He's going to reverse the curse. He's going to put an end to the transgression. He's going to finish it. Finish the transgression. He's going to turn everything around. Remember, Jesus says in Revelation, behold, I am coming to you in all things. Or behold, I make all things new. Yeah.
Now, is there any connection with, they talk about 70 weeks and then, the week years all being 7 in the end of creation, you have 7 days of creation. So, I mean, it just seems weird that the number, wasn't 3, it wasn't 6 or whatever. So is there any connection?
Well, so if we go into biblical numerology, 7 is supposed to be the number of divine perfection.
Okay.
Divine perfection.
Fulfillment.
It's what?
Fulfillment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fulfillment.
You see, to go back, the verse 26 and 27 gives us that, because the Messiah was cut off when he died, so that's they see that prophecy, the 490 years which they are talking about, so was it because Jesus died on the cross? Because if it was not that Jesus and one of the Messiah was cut off, So will be another speculation, but was very clear that prophecy was fulfilled on Jesus when Jesus died on the cross in Calvary.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, this is a radical language. It's kind of hard for us as modern Christians because we've seen the New Testament and we've seen this language used all the time, but they got it from here. This is not Old Testament language, the things that are being said. To put an end to sin.
Amen.
How's he going to do that?
He's coming. He's dying on the cross.
By dying on the cross. It's not, doesn't mean that sinning is going to end. But sin, the separation, sin is separation from God. That's what's going to put an end to. This is powerful stuff.
But it's so radically different than,
It's radically
it's not like
different.
he's saying, oh, we're gonna, like, I'm not knocking Moses, but it's not like we're gonna take a different place or we're gonna do something. This is radically different.
It's radically different, absolutely. And it's a long time before Jesus was saying these things. Something completely new is coming and it's being prophesied here. And to what? Atone for iniquity
He's the atoning sacrifice.
and to bring an everlasting righteousness. Okay, that can all be there's something impossible. Christ, Christ is our everlasting righteousness.
So you are righteous because Christ is righteous, because you put us in the right stand with the God, because not because you put that to us or you want your right, because if you're born a sinner, or read the stain of the sin, how come we can be righteous in our own? So we need something to, so we need to be righteous, be transformed and be converted. So that's why we become righteous, not because we done anything to be righteous, but because Christ is righteous.
He is our righteousness. Yes. Yeah, he is our righteousness. This is when you see Pauline theology, I mean, it's not something new. It's very much what is already stated and implied here. Listen to this. He's going to seal, this new thing that's coming is going to seal both vision and prophet. Any more prophets since the time of Jesus? John the Baptist. The visions and the prophets are sealed up. Okay, now we get really confusing. I mean, it's really confusing. You would not believe the things that are written about this. It's so complicated, you almost have to get an Excel sheet out to try to figure it out.
Or just watch Jack Daniels.
Oh, okay. That's what you do?
Watch what?
That's what we should have done.
Jack Daniels, there's on one of the stations, he has other old fellow who, he's been talking about that Daniel for the past 40 years.
Yeah.
He and his wife should just continually talk about these things.
Yeah. That would be cool, except
Yeah,
if the
he's-
commentators disagree on what it
Yeah,
means. So, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the word to restore, this could either refer to Cyrus's word, or it could refer to, oh my gosh, I can't, well, Artaxerxes is what we would say, his decree that happened after they had already returned. To refer to actually 3 decrees. That from the time of the decree going forth, a prince restored, built Jerusalem to the coming of an anointed one, a prince, an anointed one, an anointed prince. So this is a different kind of a prince. This is a priest and prince, and in fact a prophet, priest, and king. An entirely new thing in the history of Israel.
The anointing of Jesus was when John Baptist baptized Jesus, because Jesus was, after he baptized, he was sinless. But all of the law system of Israel, so John Baptist was a Levite. So Levite and Jesus a king. So always, or like Nathan or the prophet Samuel was anointed the king David, so he anointed Jesus when he started his public ministry as the king of kings, because Jesus, need to be baptized to be purified of sins, of sin. So when Jesus was in the synagogue in Nazareth, in the chapter 62 of Isaiah, another prophecy he ties in this one, he said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord sent me to bring the message. So it's again get tie exactly what the anointed one, so what is anointed by the Spirit of the Lord, and was the Spirit who anointed him was when he was in the Jordan River like a form of a dove, and that's fulfilled in Jesus. Another prophecy.
So I'm going to try to untangle this for you, but it'll take a little patience because I'm extremely old and feeble, and even I can barely understand it. But you understand that from the going forth of the word to restore and build Jerusalem to the coming of an anointed one, a prince, this is the Christ anointed, that word anointed in Greek is Christ, a prince, or Messiah in Hebrew. There shall be 7 weeks. Okay, what this actually means is that there's going to be a period of 7 weeks. Remember, a week is 7 years, so it's actually 49 years. There's going to be a period of 49 years while the temple is rebuilt. But then we have this sort of phrase that got stuck in the middle, which is messianic prophecy. That doesn't mean that this is going to happen in 49 years, that Christ is going to come. What it means is that that phrase, that clause, is kind of in the wrong place. If this were punctuated properly, it would make it clear that in 49 years or in 7 weeks, the temple will be rebuilt, but in a troubled time. Has anybody read Ezra and Nehemiah? You read those 2 books? Have you studied them? Yeah, so they did get to rebuild the temple, but it weren't easy. They were constantly under assault from, it was just like today.
They started rebuilding in 531, and they finished in 514, was consecrated again in 516. So was Cyrus gave the order, but it wasn't the time of Darius. They finished they finished and they consecrated again.
And then
was Joshua the high priest, and was in by that time. So took 30-something years.
And then for 62 weeks, so that is 62 times 7, or whatever that might be.
434.
Yeah.
What is it?
434.
434.
I knew we had to have one in the house.
No, it's in my notes.
Oh, it's in your house. You're going to be quick, right?
Oh, I was impressed.
And this is 434.
And so the whole city and is also not going to be built up with squares and a moat, but in a troubled time. So again, this is all done under duress, as we know from history and from what the Bible tells us. And then after 62 weeks, this is after the 7 weeks plus the 62 weeks is 69 weeks, which is how many years? 483. 483. And after the 62 weeks, listen to this, an anointed one shall be cut off. What's that a prophecy of? His death, his crucifixion. An anointed one shall be cut off. Remember, this is prophecy of the Messiah, an anointed one. And the prophecy is not that he's going to come and conquer the whole world. The prophecy is that he's going to be cut off. It's pretty remarkable stuff here. And he shall have nothing. What did Jesus have on the cross? Nothing. Not even his clothes. What did he have? 3 people standing by him? Mary, and John? And the people of the prince to come shall destroy the city. When did that happen? What year was that?
It was 7 AD when the Tyrus destroyed the city. So was it about after Jesus died, maybe close to 33, so it was about 67 years after.
Yeah. And that was the emperor.
No, I mean 40
The emperor.
last time.
That's the emperor Vespasian. And shall come with a flood. 63,000 troops, we're told, were sent to put down the rebellion. So I mean, today that doesn't sound like a lot, but in the ancient world,
They didn't have many people back then.
it was a lot of
Relative to the
troops.
population, yes,
Is it Maccabees? You talking about Maccabees?
Pardon?
Maccabees?
No, this is the destruction of
So
Jerusalem.
the
in 70
Romans, when the time of the Romans, it was prophesied to when Jesus was cut off and the city, so Jesus died, and the city was like in 70 AD time destroyed.
Totally destroyed. Completely was annihilated. And the people were scattered.
And still to this day never was a
So that was the last week, get up to 70, right?
You shall make a strong covenant for 1 week and for half a week. Well, how many years is half a week if 1 week is 7? And how long was his ministry? 3.5. And he shall cause sacrifice and offering to cease.
Chased out the money changers.
He chased out the money changers and he ended the sacrifices. And then we're gonna have the Antichrist, which is also prophesied. So what do you think? Pretty mind-blowing stuff, huh?
Question?
Is it a hard one? 'Cause
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure it's easy, but it's the very end where it says, he will set up an abomination. In this book, it says, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation.
Yeah,
Is that
so,
when he went into the temple and
Well,
broke everything up?
this was already done by Antiochus Epiphanes. He went into the temple and he set up, I forget which of the Greek gods, as the god of the temple. And, you know, that was an abomination at its time, but it also happened in the time of the New Testament, when Nero set himself up in the temple. And that also is an abomination in the temple, which is recorded it's recorded in code in Revelation. So we can talk about that some other time, but that's an interesting topic too. So this is, you know, these two abominations in the temple, that's happened twice. And it's gonna happen, I just said all that. So there are a lot of people that talk about the Antichrist, and there's a lot of speculation about who he is, when he's coming, and so forth. But it's important to remember that in historical terms, he's already come. So this is when we look at prophecy, it can be about today, it can be about the immediate future, it can be about the end of time.
And now also is the doctrine of the tribulation here and the mid post-tribulation, so it's very confusing that's the clue about the future. So there's a prophecy about the thing is not fulfilled yet, you know, when Christ and
Interesting that this is the second time that Gabriel shows up. How many times is Gabriel? I mean, I haven't read on, because
Daniel's kind of a Gabriel guy.
yeah. I mean, it's
Nobody
interesting how Gabriel
nobody else
comes.
gets two Gabriels.
Well, it seems like, you know, he's against the ropes, and there's Gabriel. Sort of-
if you're another one of those Tobit and one of those apocryphal books, so Gabriel he appeared to what is his name Tobit. So that book is not in the canon of this Bible, but so the angel Gabriel appeared on more than so a few more times.
Well, so thank you for bearing with me. I hope everybody can see that Daniel is a special book. And it has some really remarkable things in it, and it's well worth studying. The Old Testament is a treasure trove, and as Christians, we really need to get in there and look around and see what we can find. I'd like to say a prayer now. if you
Oh,
don't
I guess
mind.
one question.
Yes.
So in the end here, where it talks about, he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week, and then it talks about the sacrifice. Is that like almost like the new reference to like the new covenant and the sacrifice of Christ?
Oh, you're good. Yeah, you made a new covenant. Yeah.
There's a lot of disagreement over that last.
Yeah, it's disputed.
Well, I didn't want to stir it up right in 5 minutes.
That's why I just said, yeah, you're good.
I just
have
have
one
talked to-
understanding, Roman Catholics.
Yeah.
And some Protestant churches have a different one. It's week, 7 years of tribulation prior to the second coming of Jesus.
Oh,
And halfway through, Revelation describes the two people that are causing a lot of disruption destruction in Israel, and they set out to try to do them in, and nobody can do it. They elude all the efforts, they get rid of them. So it's at the halfway through, 3.5 years into the 7 years, and then the Lord will come. And then the big argument is, are believers gonna be here during the time of tribulation, or are we gonna be here halfway through it, or are we gonna have to suffer through the tribulation and then meet the Lord? It gets very involved. And it was not on like this.
Sorry about that.
Nice going, Ron.
I didn't know what to do.
Jesus' second return, he's gonna come at a time, I believe, when, at the foot of Israel is about ready to collapse. Is that not true?
He said,
That's-
no one knows the time and neither the Father, so
I think.
we got, if you no one knows, you will open, both ways, or you meet them face to face. If you die before, or if you come return, both ways you're gonna meet them, so it doesn't matter.
But there's two places in the Psalms where it speaks of where he says, I looked and see, and there was no one who would come to help. So I had to intervene myself on their behalf. That's really what I'm saying.
Yes, these things are very mysterious and very profound, and far beyond my grasp. So, yeah, let's just say, we're trying to keep the cap on a very large discussion. Yeah. Oh, would it be okay if we say a prayer? I know we're a little bit late. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you please pray, and I'm going to ask you, please, since I blabbered so much all the way through, please give me relief. Pray for the people of El Paso, and not just the victims and their families, but the first responders and Dayton. Please continue to pray for Ray and his healing. And please don't forget to give praise to God and thanks to God for his great goodness. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you. We give thanks to you for this time and this place, and for the opportunity to talk about your magnificent, incredible, spirit-filled word, which is just beyond all of our expectations, and really, honestly, Lord, beyond our understanding. Now we come before you with our petitions, knowing that you've given us, through Jesus Christ, the call for boldness to approach the throne of grace with